Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Indie Pride with Milk and Cookies Total War, and I apologize. I am a little sick today, so if my commentary suffers a little bit, I apologize for that, but hopefully we won't run into too many issues. Today, I have a replay sent to me by two of my good friends. That's BossTycoOoN in the purple and Braver Pleinair in the white, and they are two of the better players I know in the Total War community right now. They're really talented, and when they play together, it's sometimes pretty scary. Um, so we're gonna go over their tactics and their army setups after we hit play. So here we go. One thing that I've noticed about Braver and Boss when they play together is that their cavalry movement and the way they time their cavalry is really pretty good. I mean, they do a great job working together with their cavalry, and you'll see what I mean a little bit here. But here we are on Koyasan Temple, and we are playing against. They are playing against two Ron players, and Ron is a pretty well-known, well-respected clan. They've got some really good players, and they are also known for bringing their overpowered army setups. They have some Naginata warrior monks with 16 attack, 24 defense. Some Naginata samurai with 13 attack, 18 defense. Matchlocks. But yeah, I would say that both of them have a Naginata core, and they do have some hold from Yari as well. But what we're going to notice here is that Boss is going to take the workshop down here at the bottom, and Braver is going to move up towards the sword dojo. And one thing that you'll really notice about the way they play is that they will never engage unless they are sure that they can win an engagement. And actually, let's quickly move over here because Katana Cavalry from the green is moving in here, and I'm not really sure what he was doing there. That was not a good call, but he ran a Katana Cav straight into his Braver's matchlocks. Never a good idea, especially when it's backed up by Yari Ashigaru, but he's going to lose that unit right off the bat. But let's quickly shift on over here. Like I was saying, Braver and Boss will never get into an engagement unless they're sure they can win it. So that means that they will kite you for forever if they can use their matchlocks effectively and keep surrounding you. And they also do a great job using their cavalry hitting weak spots on the line. So right now, Braver's rocking a melee gen, and him and Boss's cavalry and all their cavalry is moving over onto Blue's flank. And this is something I don't see people do very often, but is a really good idea. Is that if Naginata attendants are out by themselves, you can take them out with cavalry very easily. Now Boss does screw up a little bit here. He doesn't time it perfectly. What you want to do is you want to hit a Naginata attendant from the front and the back simultaneously. So he does take some losses in his fire cav. But if you hit them from the front and the back at the same time, it will rout right away. And I mean, they're only a 150 Koku unit, but if those Naginata attendants had been over by the main line, they would have been able to block cavalry and a lot more damage than if they were all by themselves. So they quickly get those off the field right off the bat, which is really good. And so as you can see now, Braver and Boss are already kind of surrounding them. They have the cavalry up on the hill, they're moving up, and we just discovered some of Blue's cav, and that's coming out of the trees now. And pretty soon here, Braver is going to shift over back towards the sword dojo, and he'll do that in a minute. But when they play, their whole strategy is basically evolves around completely surrounding an enemy and attacking the weak spots on the line, and they will not get into a full infantry engagement unless they're sure they can win. So right now, let's see what cavalry Braver's bringing. He's got a light cav, light cav, light cav, and then Boss has some really powerful fire cavalry with 21 attack, 16 defense. Yari cav with 17 attack, and some mounted samurai there for skirmishing as well. And then the melee generals, and that's another thing that kind of separates Braver and Boss from regular players, is that, excuse me, often they bring like I said, I was sick. I'm sick. Often they'll bring melee generals, and the way they use those really effectively is that, like you saw right earlier, Braver took out some Naginata attendants with his melee gen because they aren't affected by spears. And most players that I know, and most of the really good players I know, use leadership generals because, I mean, like normally what you would think of a melee general is that yeah, you have the great one really good unit, but why would you pick that over a unit like a leadership general where you can benefit your entire line? But I mean, Braver and Boss usually get over 250 kills with their melee generals, and Hammer and Anvils and the way they use them with their in tandem with their cavalry is if you use a melee general in tandem with your cavalry, you can do a lot of damage. And I mean, we'll see that here later in the battle. But right now they're just repositioning, and Braver is shifting over to the hill below green, and blue is still kind of just right now. He's just kind of forming a new box, and yeah, right now it's just all about tactics and positioning. Green is sending some cavalry to fight, or Naginata attendants to fight bosses and Braver's cav, but again, they're completely exposed, they're by themselves, and so with a melee gen and all the cavalry support they have over there, they'll just be able to rout them really easily. If I was green or blue, I would have kept my Naginata attendants, because as you can see, Boss and Braver have the cavalry advantage for sure. And so you want to keep those Naginata attendants near your lines so that you can use them for anti-cavalry. And when they're exposed and all by themselves, they're going to rout really easily because they have really low morale. So I'm not really sure why they were hiding those Naginata attendants. It doesn't really seem like a good idea to me. But right now they have a full encircle off. The cavalry is up on top of the hill, and Braver and Boss are just completely surrounding them at the moment. And now blue is going to send in his cav, and he's actually going to make a pretty big micro mistake here. He's going to send his cavalry in and then retreat, but he's going to still end up getting caught, and they're going to get charged in the back, and he's going to lose way more men than he should have. I'm not really sure what he was doing there either. I mean, these were high-ranked players, and they have good veterans, but I will say that they didn't play the best game I've ever seen any player play in Shogun. They do make some pretty big mistakes. But blue is sending some Naginata samurai to help in the cav fight. But, I mean, he's already lost almost all of his cavalry. And Boss and Braver, after they engage some, are just going to be able to pull out and take minimal losses. Now, one thing that I do want to say about Boss and Braver when they use melee generals is that fatigue does become an issue. As you can, when looking at Braver's line right now and his cavalry, both of them are in the orange fatigue and yellow fatigue at the moment. And so with all the positioning they do, it can actually be really bad for them. So what they do to compensate for having a melee general and having the fatigue issues is that they will usually keep kiting, and then once they get a chance, they'll put their units into rest mode and just not move for a little bit so that they can get their fatigue back. But they're still engaging right now, still taking out all the cavalry they can. They're really aggressive with their cavalry. I will say that they'll go for units that are exposed when their spear's really close to it that I would never attack if I was playing. And it does sometimes end up biting them, but more often than not, their aggressiveness with cavalry really pays off. And they're still engaging. The Bulletproof Samurai and the Naginata Samurai are chasing after the cavalry. And you will notice right here, this is another mistake Green makes, is that for some reason he sends his Bulletproof Samurai to attack Braver's lines all by himself. And this is a really strong unit. It has hold firm, 14 attack, 21 defense. But I mean, when it's not supported by other units, it's going to lose badly in melee. And actually, I haven't talked about Braver's setup yet. He has some Yari Ashigaru, some Matchlocks, which actually have 0 attack. So I think the Ron players used damp powder on him and got rid of his reload skill. But that Bulletproof Samurai has hold firm. It just popped hold firm and is now engaged with Braver General and his infantry units. And I mean, it might get some kills, but a Bulletproof Samurai with hold firm is a 1500 or more Koku unit. And when it's attacking an entire infantry line all by itself, that's a lot of Koku down the drain. And I believe it only leaves this battle with like 40 kills. But let's zoom down and take a look at the engagement right now. As soon as that hold firm wears off, that Bulletproof Samurai is going to start wavering. As you can see, it's already in the red morale at 100 men. And now let's quickly move up to the top of the hill here, because that bulletproof samurai is going to rout it. Braver is now engaging with the Naginata samurai from blue up on top of the hill. And he just captured that with a Naginata attendant and a lone sword Ashigaru. And his lone swords have bonsai. I wouldn't recommend that setup really. I mean, lone swords with bonsai are decent for sure, but I mean, I've never really liked relying on lone swords just because they have such low morale. The bonsai does kind of compensate for that though, but they're engaging right now, and it looks kind of bad for Braver because he only has a few units engaging against all of Green's. But he's quickly moving up on the flank here with a matchlock. Gonna get some shots off with that, and he's also sending another lone sword Ashigaru to tie down some of his other units. And you'll see now why the surrounding is so, the way they surround an opponent is so great, because look at how unorganized Green is right now. Like, he basically has no idea what he's doing. Like, he has a bunch of units, like, all in places that aren't in a good position. He's getting really bunched up. He's standing and fighting in a really strange spot where he's exposed to Braver's and Boss's cavalry. And they're going to get attacks on Green from multiple flanks and be able to wipe him out pretty easily. Green is now sending in some Naginata warrior monks, 19 attack. No, now they just got the sword dojo, so now they have 22 attack and 20 defense, which is ridiculous. But it doesn't matter how good your stats are on a unit. If you're getting completely surrounded, you're going to rout. And so this is pretty chaotic right now, but Braver is flanking. Boss is engaging some of his cavalry and sending in some Naginata warrior monks to reinforce. And blue just lost his Naginata samurai, and Green is just really, really exposed, and most of his units are gone now. There's a Yari Ashigaru behind his lines, and as soon as he gets a hammer and anvil off with that, Green is going to be in trouble. His attack just was, he was really out of position. It just was not the way you want to do an attack, and his general's already down to 10 men. That's going to rout shortly, and Green will be out of this fight. And he brought a really quality side army, but most of his quality units didn't get very many kills. Like this 1400 Koku Naginata warrior monk with bonsai only got 50 kills. Like, that's not cost effective at all. And now blue is into the engagement, and Boss is getting some shots off on blue's flank on the Naginata warrior monks, and blue also makes the same mistake Green does, and he has a really disorganized attack where Boss and Braver can just completely surround them and hammer and anvil from behind. And his general is really exposed right in the middle there, and Boss just got a bunch of cavalry and his avatar's bodyguard into the general. And being a melee general, that bodyguard is going to disappear really quickly. It's a little hard for me to commentate this just because of how much stuff is going on. But I mean, you can see how effective their surround was. They are completely encircling blue, and he's going to rout really shortly too. And that's what they do really well, is that they attack from multiple angles, get you really confused and bunched up and disorganized, and then exploit that by hitting you from the rear with cavalry and just completely surrounding you. And I mean, there's just so much flanking going on here, and blue is now wavering and is going to disappear pretty soon here. Those long Yari Ashes get destroyed by those Matchlock Samurai. But yeah, blue and green completely surrounded, disorganized, and they pretty much got destroyed that battle. So Boss and Braver did really well. They controlled that battle right from the start, and I think it was a really impressive battle. So we're gonna go to the stat screen and look at how many kills each unit got, and I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you in a few minutes. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed that battle. Let's take a quick look at the stats here. And one thing you will notice about that battle is that Boss brought a more quality side army, and Braver brought a more quantity side army. And I think that can actually help a lot when you're trying to surround somebody. The quantity side armies are better for getting an encircle off and completely surrounding somebody, but if you use that in tandem with quality side armies to help reinforce, I think that's a really good strategy, and they did a really good job that battle. But Braver, as you see, deployed almost 2,000 men, had 1,300 kills, and Boss deployed 1,350 and had 1,000 kills. And that's actually kind of a symptom of the battle as well. He only had 1,000 kills, which isn't a ton of kills, but both Ron players brought pretty small armies, 1,400 and 1,395. They brought quality side armies as well, and a lot of those units, those really expensive 1,400 Koku units or more, would just routed because they were completely surrounded and out of position. And Boss and Braver did a great job exploiting that. So let's look at the unit stats here. Braver had 186 kills with his melee gen. It's really good, and his lone swords and katanas actually did pretty well also. I mean, Bonsai and Lone Sword Ashigaru is an interesting unit, and I will say that I've never used it, but what I have seen of it, I mean, they can get some good kills. They have 17 base attack, and then if you add Bonsai to that, they won't rout, so that kind of makes up for the poor morale they have. But they did a pretty decent job that battle. Let's look at Ron, Way of the Tiger. He had a hold firm Yarai do a pretty decent job with 165 kills, and a Naginata Samurai with 100. But other than that, he didn't do fantastic with any of his units, and he definitely made a huge mistake with sending that Bulletproof Samurai into melee all by itself, especially with hold firm. You want to keep that with your melee, because once your line starts wavering, you can pop hold firm and multiple units will get the benefit. But if it's all by itself, it's not really going to help you out very much. And like I said, it's a 1,500 Koku unit, and only getting 80 kills is not very good. Let's move down to Boss. Boss had a Fire Cav, a really good Fire Cav, 9 Chevron, with 150 kills, and a Yari Cav with 140. And wow, he had a Warrior Monk unit with only 18 losses and 120 kills, so that's a really good kill ratio. I bet that hit somebody from the rear and caused a chain rout. Also had a Yari Samurai do quite well, 8 losses and 68 kills. And then looking at Ron Glizdal, he had a Wako that did pretty well, and a Naginata Warrior Monk. But other than that, not a whole lot from his quality side units. So I hope you guys enjoyed that battle. We got a lot more content coming, and I do apologize. This was hard for me to commentate just because there was so much going on, but I hope it was worthy of showing, and I hope you enjoyed it. So I will see you next time. Thanks.